Welcome in Abenteuer, Adventures in Lollygagging. Jeff taught me how to say welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging in German. I could only remember the first two words. We're playing Magnus Archives. And the reason I'm talking about German in the first place is because we've decided that our version of the Magnus Archives is set in Germany, in Hamburg, to be specific. I have been to Germany. I took 3 years of German. I am very bad at German, but I will be doing my best throughout this campaign to give us an authentic experience. I'm super excited to be playing Magnus. This is my first time actually running Cypher System too. I have dropped a lot of money on Cypher System throughout the years, so it's about time that I started actually running it. So this is exciting. And we're going to see where this goes. Yeah, just jump right in then. If you caught our session 0, we finished fleshing out our characters throughout the week. They're mostly the same. There were a couple, 2 tweaks that we've made. But I'm super excited to see where this goes. So let's begin. Hamburg was not built in a day. Its skyline is an eclectic mix of style, design, and material, with some buildings up to 800 years old. The city's history clashes with our modern needs, creating a discordant fusion of architecture. Cobblestone walkways blend into flagstone paths, which blend into concrete slabs, and then into asphalt, and then back into cobblestone, based on the desires from the century it was paved. Sometimes the buildings themselves have the same patchwork of material, with modern glass and steel expansions bearing down on centuries-old stone and brick foundations. You can almost hear the two sides arguing. I'm still here. I still exist. While the other side says, we've moved on. We don't need you. A 4-story parking garage with every inch of concrete covered in layers and layers of graffiti lies just across the street from an almost millennia-old church, blocking the profile of a steeple that previously dominated the landscape. Even the church itself is not exempt from this identity crisis, with a post-war copper reconstruction of a Baroque rooftop and spire standing on the 15th century brick Gothic walls. It's early morning. It looks as if it might rain. There's a walking tour that's been gathered outside of this church that is right on the canals of the Elbe. You hear the tour guide calling out to the group, telling everyone to come closer as the tour is about to begin. And they begin. St. Catherine's traditionally served as a church for sailors, merchants, and wanderers. It was said that any sailor baptized within these walls would be able to find their way back home. The church was mostly destroyed during the Second World War, but has had several restorations since. It has been known for its organs since the 15th century. Johann Sebastian Bach himself has played within these very walls. We follow this tour group going into the church, and where they go into the main cathedral, we pan to the right, down just a little poorly maintained access hallway. It's just white paint on brick walls. The paint is chipping away. It leads down a metal staircase that just descends into darkness. Next to the staircase, we see a sign that says the Magnus Institute, with an arrow pointing into that darkness. We stop there for a moment and we cut to Ashley. What does Frieda Dürer look like?
She is a tall woman with blonde hair chopped around her shoulders, and she's sort of masculine looking. She's got a strong jaw, and she's just wearing work pants and a nice blouse and her glasses. And she's a rather sturdy looking woman. Despite that, she tends to soften herself with a nice sweater. And she's older. She's in her mid-40s. So, yeah.
And while you're commuting to work, where would be a regular place that you stop at? Maybe not every day of the week, but quite often.
There's a coffee shop near the church that she likes to frequent sometimes. More often than not, if she does have to go to a coffee shop, that's her go-to.
You go into this coffee shop, it's busy. It's 7:30 in the morning. Everyone's in line waiting to get their coffee. You know most everyone who works here. You've been here enough. It's nearby. You come in here quite often. You do see there's a new face at the register. You go up and you give your order to someone that's familiar with you, and they pass the order down. And when it comes your turn to pay, you see this person, man, rather short, but rather thin as well. He's got very pale skin. He's got black hair that's just parted down the middle, and it kind of like frames his forehead a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he's smiling at you. No charge, Miss Dürer. Orders from the house.
Oh, thank you. You're new?
Ah, yes. Today's my first day. Don't worry, I know all about you. I've got your order in already.
Really? Who told you about me?
Well, like I said, orders from the house.
Okay. And
you?
She will actually kind of leave this guy relatively quickly at that point because this is weird.
You go and you get your order and everything is perfectly fine. You see that he turns around and he goes to start restocking something. He goes into a back room and you don't see him again. You get your coffee. You continue on your commute.
She'll go to someone she knows at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Who was that with the black hair?
I'm sorry. Who are you talking about?
He said my coffee was from the house.
Oh, well, if we made a mistake, we'll get you a complimentary coffee. That happens fairly often.
Do you know his name?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure who you're talking about. We've got 5 people working here right now, and we're kind of busy. And the person you're talking to is making coffee right now.
And, yeah, sorry. And she'll leave, just kind of confused.
And you continue on. How far away would you say you live from the Institute?
I'd say about 20 minutes.
Okay. So you get on a subway or a train, likely. Maybe you take the bus. And the rest of your commute?
Probably bike to work.
Okay, even better. Yeah. So you're biking to work, and Hamburg is a city of canals. There are 2,500 bridges in this city that cross over various sized rivers, canals, and it's more than even Amsterdam would have. So you are going through this maze, this network, and you see beautiful views throughout this whole way. But for some reason, the face of that smiling cashier just can't get out of your mind. From there, we cut to Naveen. Naveen, what do you look like?
Naveen's about 5'8". She's got dark brown skin, really long, black wavy hair, like almost like to her waist that she's wearing loose. She's got huge gold hoops on and like really big trendy frames on her glasses, and she's thick with like 3 C's and she's got this big smile, and she is also biking to work.
All right. You are biking to work, and you will say that you are going to a bridge that is currently up to allow a boat to go under it. This is fairly often on your route when this happens, so you just have to wait a few minutes to continue on. And a young woman bikes up next to you. We're getting towards late spring, so it's warm enough that people are starting to commute to work this way again. And she stops and she looks over at you. Those are beautiful frames. I love those glasses. You look gorgeous.
Thank you so much. I just got them. My friend was having a sale, and that's why I got them. Because otherwise, I mean, you know how expensive glasses can be.
Would you mind telling me where you got them from? Not to steal your style or anything, but they're just too good to pass up.
It gives them a random website and says, use this promo code, though. This is the discount.
Naveen, as you pull out your... Do you have a smartphone?
Yeah.
As you pull out your smartphone to pull up this website, you realize you can't find your phone.
Oh. Sorry, I was looking for my phone, but I guess I left it at home. But it's just...
it might... Could it have dropped out of your pocket? You remember taking it with you. You remember checking your email right before you got on your bike.
Maybe.
It's probably around here somewhere. Do you want to use my phone to call it? Maybe it'll ring.
Yeah, do you mind?
No, not at all. And she pulls out her smartphone from a bag and hands it to you. As soon as you grab this phone and you go to start dialing, a call comes in. A FaceTime call.
Oh.
And you recognize the number. It's your phone number.
I don't think I dialed, but I'm gonna go ahead and do you mind if I answer this? This is my number.
It's your okay.
Yeah, and mirroring her perplexed look, she will answer the call.
You swipe, and a face comes up. This pale white face, a man with black hair that's parted in the middle, kind of frames his forehead a little bit. He's smiling. I found this phone, and I was trying to return it to its owner.
Oh, I can come meet you, sir. It's my phone. Thank you for holding on to it.
Oh,
Where
wonderful. Well, I'm in the house I found it in.
Okay. Like,
I'll wait for you here.
The house?
Oh yeah, sure. Outside the house.
I'm sorry. What house did you find it in?
What is your address?
I will give
you say the address.
My street address, which is fairly close to the institute.
That's what he says.
All right. I just left. I guess my phone must have fallen out of my pocket. Thank you for holding on to it.
Of course, I'll wait for you here. And the call ends.
I'll be there and halfway through the sentence, she kind of hands the phone back to her, to the woman. Like, I guess I dropped my phone.
Well, I'm glad someone found it for you.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me call it.
And at this point, the bridge is starting to come back down. Well, I've got to go, but thank you so much for telling me that website. I really appreciate it. Love your frames. And she starts biking away. You turn around, start biking back home, and on the sidewalk outside of your apartment, likely in Hamburg, you find the phone just lying there. No one's holding it.
Okay, I'm gonna go pick it up, and I'm looking for the lost FaceTime call me.
You pick it up and you look through your recent history, and there is no recent phone call. Nothing within the last few minutes. You pick up your phone and it's probably locked, right? You would have a pin or something.
Yeah.
And it was locked, and there's no recent call history whatsoever.
Do I have any of my neighbors out or anything, like on the street?
Probably not. People might be coming and going if you want to wait for them. But people are going to work, so they wouldn't be just hanging around this early in the morning.
No, I am gonna go inside my house though, and just do a quick cursory look to see if anything was disturbed.
All right, we see Naveen go into her house. The door closes behind, and we cut to Zander. Zander, what do you look like?
I'm a 6'3" male, 200 pounds, pretty brawny, athletic, because I'm a goalkeeper in a 3rd division football club. And I'm dressed appropriately, pretty professional tie, nice shirt. And I've got pretty clean fit, shaved head. Not shaved head, sorry. Shaved on the sides, moppy top.
Fantastic. And how do you commute to work?
I'll take the train.
Take the train. So you take the light rail. Probably not the subway because St. Catharines is on a canal, so there's no actual subway stop nearby. But there are trains on bridges that get you fairly close. And you're riding the train. Days going perfectly normal. Pretty reliable public transportation. You don't even look outside the window anymore because you've seen it 1,000 times. You get off the train and you start walking down a canal, following it on this flagstone path, and you see the church up ahead. It looks like rain. Maybe you felt a raindrop or two coming down. And on the way, you see an old friend of yours, Friedrich, your fishing buddy. He's pretty far off, but you know it's him. How do you know it's him? What do you recognize about him?
He's got his goofy rain hat that he always wears.
Yeah, he's got a goofy rain hat. It's not even raining right now, but he's got this wide fisherman's hat that just blocks as much sun as anything. You've never actually seen him fishing on this part of town. There are plenty of fishing holes in Hamburg. It's great for anglers. But you don't normally see him over here, so it is a bit strange. And you see the head turn and wave, still a good distance at you. As you get closer, though, you realize this person waving at you is not Friedrich whatsoever. It just wearing the same hat that Friedrich always wears. You see a pale face, a couple locks of black hair coming out from under the hat. He smiles at you. Mr. Blach, Friedrich told me that this is where we should fish.
And to tell you, we're at a train station.
Well, no, we're on the canal here.
Fish here? No. I've got work to get to.
It looks like rain, and, they are always more active in the rain. Gotta get out of the house sometime, right?
If you've got the time for it, you can fish.
Well, it's a pleasure talking to you. Maybe I can fish with you and Friedrich sometime.
If you're a friend of Felix, yes.
Have a good one. And you continue walking past, not asking him how he knew who you were, not asking him how he knew Friedrich, and continuing. You see St. Catharines not too far away, and you go into work. Emily, what do you look like?
So Emily is kind of about 5'5", 5'6". She's got kind of long curly hair that's very frizzy. She's not wearing any makeup. She's wearing what looks sort of like a t-shirt and a long flowy skirt and Birkenstocks. If you were to look closely at the clothing, you would be able to tell that they're like homemade. They're not something that you would kind of get off a rack.
And how do you commute to work?
She walks.
You walk. You live close enough then it's just a few blocks away.
I would say it's a decent walk, but she walks anyway. So she's got a bit of a pep to her step as she walks.
Would you stop anywhere about halfway through to give yourself a break? Like for coffee or breakfast or anything?
I would say, sure, she would probably stop. I would say that there might be a florist, perhaps. So she would have kind of eaten at home, but there might be a florist. So she likes to kind of bring into the office, kind of bring some color to the workspace. So she might, kind of stop by the florist on a regular basis to kind of switch out what's kind of on her desk and around the workplace.
Fantastic. We'll say it's Monday, so this is the time to do it, and you'll have flowers for the rest of the week. You're going through, you've still got plenty of time. You look up, you see it's 7:15. You're not due for another 45 minutes. So even with another 15-minute walk, you've still got plenty of time to peruse and shop around. Looking at these flowers, and you are going down, we'll say, a long table. And as you're starting to round it, you get next to one of the windows in the shop, and you just hear a loud banging on the glass. You jerk and look up, and you see a man standing there in a black suit with a red tie, pale white skin, and this black hair that's just parted down the middle. And he's smiling at you, and he points directly to you.
And Emily just sort of points to herself, looks to see if there's anyone behind, and sees the man with his finger over his lips.
He shushes you, and then he points to the something up higher. You follow it, and you see the clock on the wall reads 8:20. You're late for work.
And so then she'll look back to the man. And she will kind of, not so much at the time, but curious at this individual, will sort of go out the door.
And he waved for the audio people. He waved and he pointed to his hand. He doesn't have a watch, but he points to where a watch would be. You go out the door and he's still pointing to that watch, that imaginary watch. You better get a move on. You're going to be late.
What do you mean I'm going to be late? Where do you?
It's 8:20. Don't you have to work at 8?
How would you know that?
Well, everyone works at 8. That's when the day starts.
Where do you work?
Oh, I work at the courthouse. It's a beautiful place. You should come visit. We love having visitors. I'll give you a tour. Oh no, government works at 9.
I'm sorry. You work at the courthouse at night?
At 9.
Oh, at 9. Do you have a card if I were interested in a tour of the courthouse?
Of course. And he reaches in to a pocket and he handed you a card and it says Miles Mueller, clerk.
Well, thank you, Miles. You might want to get along as well, so you are on time.
Of course, Mrs. Ship. It's a pleasure. And he turns and starts walking the direction of the courthouse, but it's a big city, so it's a ways away.
Emily looks very confused. She has this extremely large bag that she carries that for her size being a little bit petite is very large. It would have looked large on anyone, but she's like swimming with this bag and she kind of reaches into it and kind of puts this card down and she goes back in and buys the flowers that she was going to buy.
And you look at the watch and you are indeed running late. So you feel a little skip in your step as you're going to work. But from there, we cut to Lucian. Lucian, what do you look like?
Tall, similar to Frieda. Roughly the same. Slender, but not from a lack of a build, but from lack of nourishment. I wear black. I am not so professional as Zander. Black quarter eyes with holes torn in them, not intentionally, but from use. And I wear a black t-shirt. And when I am able, a coat. And often I am wearing a cap as I do now.
And Lucian, what does your apartment look like or where you live?
I have no apartment. I live in the 1986 Datsun Cherry that I found during my studies. I like to stay mobile. It is filled with texts and various instruments for my art. And I park it often by water.
So you are parked by one of these canals on the Eba.
Yeah.
And you are planning on driving to work then?
No. I will park it in a place where it cannot be seen. And I will walk the blocks to the archives.
All right. It is parked where you slept then. And you get out and you start patting your pockets for the keys to lock it.
Yes.
You can't find them. Have you ever lost your keys
Interesting.
before?
Yes.
So this
many
isn't an
times.
uncommon occurrence. So you don't panic too much then.
I never panic.
You start looking through your car for them, or do you just leave it?
Yes. I will look on the ground to see if I have dropped it. I will look under the seat.
So you start looking under the seat. You look under the car. Nowhere to be seen. You cannot find these keys for the life of you.
I am perplexed. I walk down the street and I look on the sidewalk. I want to see from where I have traveled from last night, where I was eating dinner, to see if I dropped it along the way.
Yeah, you start retracing your steps, and you get about 15 steps away from the car when you hear a jingling. And you see a man in a black suit and a red tie. He's got this black hair that's parted with a center part, very pale skin. Are you looking for these? I just found them here. He's jingling a set of keys.
Lucian will slowly turn first his head, and then his body will follow. Those for a 1986 Datsun Cherry.
I don't know. We can certainly try them. And he starts going through. How many keys would be on this key ring?
17.
17. So he starts going through these 17 keys, and he heads over to your car and he starts trying them. You can never be too careful these days. You don't want anyone to find your house keys.
No. Yet here we are, with you having found my house keys.
Indeed.
Where did you find them? Might I ask?
They were just lying on the ground over there. I've been trying apartments, going through each door, seeing if they would unlock any of them, trying to return them to their owners, of course.
That is very foolish of you. There is not a key on that ring that would look like it would open an apartment. If you were more perceptive, you would not have wasted your time.
Oh, it's not a waste of time. I like doing good things for people. I like meeting new people, like you.
I am not new. I have been on this earth for many years.
Oh, yes, you have. You really have. We're going to be good friends, aren't we?
I do not have friends.
I'll be your first.
I decline.
If that's what you want. And he hands you over the keys. Do you take them?
Yes, and I will say, I owe you a reward for finding my dear keys. Would you like it?
No charge. I don't take finder's fees.
Oh, it was not money. It was something far more valuable.
Oh, well, I am interested. What might it be?
First, you must close your eyes.
Closes his eyes.
Lucian reaches into his automobile and he pulls out a spray can and he sprays it all over the man's face.
The man has no physical reaction. He stays standing there, even as you spray, and just keeps his eyes closed the whole time. How much do you spray?
If he does not stop, I shall spray until the spray can is empty.
This paint, what color paint is it?
It is black.
This black paint is just dripping in rivulets across his face. His eyes are closed, and it just starts gooping up because it's gotten so thick, and it drips his still smiling mouth that's wide open. It drips into his mouth, covering his teeth, getting into his mouth. No reaction whatsoever until that can just starts to sputter. Psst, psst, psst. And then he opens his eyes. Oh, you've shared with me your passion. Thank you.
You understand. Good.
And with that, he turns wordlessly, still smiling, and walks away, not even attempting to wipe the paint off. From there, we cut back to, how about everyone gives me a speed test here? We'll say that this is going to be contested, so it no difficulty, just roll speed. All right, we've got a GM intrusion from Naveen. But it looks like Emily Shoup, you were the first to arrive, despite being very late. Emily Ship, sorry, misread that. You were the very first to arrive here. You go down these metal staircase. You can still hear the tour guides. There are multiple tours that come through this church. You still hear them talking all these different facts about the last restoration was in 1964, and so on about this church. But you have heard this a million times. And you go down into the archives, the Institute. You know the whole history of this Institute here. There's an empty lot next to St. Catherine's, and it was going to be developed into an office building. And like many buildings around here, construction began by digging out what would have been an underground parking garage. Then, unfortunately, funding dried up. After years of this pit sitting unused, the church bought the lot, paved it over, and then leased the underground space to the Magnus Institute. With these concrete walls and exposed utilities with no natural lighting, it's a very dreary place to work, which explains why you would be bringing flowers in. But it's essentially a bunker. It offers excellent protection and climate control for the storage of sensitive paperwork and artifacts, which is exactly what the Magnus Institute needed. You follow this tunnel, essentially. There's no other word for it. That goes to, it goes past steam rooms and storage rooms for the church until you get to another door that has a glass window and script painted on it, the Magnus Institute. You walk right in, no passcode or security needed, and you see there is the desk of the administrator of the archive. You don't see her there, Johanna. But you do know that that's where she normally is. Would you leave your flowers there, or would you take them in with you?
Well, I would say that Emily leaves the flowers in sort of a shared area. So if we have sort of like a break room space or something like that, where like everyone would enjoy it, kind of that's where it would be.
Okay. So this is the first room that's kind of like an welcoming area. But no one ever comes in here. So it really is a rather quiet place. There are two chairs that are just sitting in a corner. And you see that there is a like sound booth sort of thing. It's really just plaster put up with a very cheap door that people can go in and record statements if they wish and have a little bit more privacy. You continue on out of this entry area into a much wider room. This room has the concrete walls, concrete floors, concrete ceiling. You see that there are exposed pipes running along, all of the the fire sprinklers, all of the water and the plumbing, all of the electrical is in conduits. You can see everything. Nothing is in the walls. In the center of this room are 6 cubicles. Each one is a cubicle for one of you, and then the 6th one is just stacked high of banker's boxes of old statements that still need to be processed and still need to be cataloged before they go into the archive, which is past this main room. There is a coffee table, or coffee, like break room table, in this main room. It's really just a folding table that's pushed up against a sidewall with a coffee machine on it, various different types of coffee. It's all cheap Folgers, like none of the pods or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the type where if you're the first one in, you make coffee. It's surprising that you're the first one in because you can tell you're about 45 minutes late now. And you can set the flowers down there and you look at your cubicle and tell us what your cubicle looks like.
It's a mess. There's definitely like she would know, it's kind of one of those things where like there's stacks. And if anyone else were to look at it, they would think, oh my goodness, how do you know where anything is? But she knows exactly where everything is in the stacks. But there's no attempt to clean it up by the end of the week. So coming in on Monday, it is exactly the same mess as it was on Friday. So there's definitely stacks here, there, everywhere. She probably will, maybe there's a folded napkin, maybe kind of crumbled on the corner. And so maybe she'll kind of, seeing that no one's here, maybe kind of grab a trash can and come over and, just wipe a few crumbs and, kind of grab that and make a little attempt to start the week, kind of on a different note. But she will be kind of looking at the clock and sort of, kind of getting on her tiptoes and looking around at everyone's cubicles and a little curious that no one else is here.
Yeah, looking at the cubicles, and the walls of these cubicles are rather short, so you don't have to really like crane too high to be able to see across. Even when you're sitting, if you just stretch up, you can generally see across them, which allows for a little bit more communal work. It's a balance between privacy and collaboration. But you look around and you see that the lights are on in Ludwig's office. You're the head archivist. He has an office that it's kind of like the sound booth where it's just plaster walls abutted to this concrete in a corner. Very cheaply made, not much money put into this whatsoever. But you see that there is also a glass door and a glass window. The blinds are closed, but you do see the lights are on in there, and it looks to be that there are two shadows in there that you would guess would be Ludwig and Johanna doing their morning meeting, which makes sense because it's Monday at 9 a.m. This is generally when they start balancing the books together.
And would you say that it would be expected that we would be in that meeting with them, or that is a meeting generally?
This is between the archivist and the administrator, so you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Okay. I think she probably would, and maybe this is something that she would do. She would kind of come up to the door. And so she's kind of been quiet as she has done that. And then she obscenely loudly knocks on the door and just sort of says like, "Good morning." And she's what do you watching need? The shadows because she it's a thing that she does to see if she can sort of like get them to jump a little bit. So she's kind of like watching to see if she was successful.
We can roll over your speed. You did great on speed. You got an 18. So we'll say you can see, once you get closer, you can even see through the blinds. So you can see like the outline of Ludwig and Johanna. Johanna is old, likely 80 or 90, but she doesn't talk about herself at all. It's possible that she was the Institute's first employee because she's been around that long. And Ludwig, he's relatively new. He's the new head archivist that replaced Shirley Harlock. I don't believe you met Shirley. But you've heard plenty about her, mostly negative things from the chatter about. Ludwig is a decent boss, but you do absolutely scare him. He was very much engrossed with Johanna, and likely part of the reason you tried to scare him is because he's scared of Johanna in a way. They are somewhat combative. Johanna's been around for so long that despite Ludwig being her boss, technically, she has more control, and he tries to appease her. And the more he tries to appease her, the more she feels disdain for him. So when you bang on the door, you do see him jump. Yeah, what do you need?
Guten Morgen. And she just repeats that and walks away.
Guten Morgen. And you hear Johanna give him a side, not a overt insult, but your employees wander in whenever they want. And you head back to your cubicle, and we will cut to the next person who rolled. We didn't have very good rolls here. It looks like Zander.
Yeah, I got a 12.
So you're the next one in, and you are passing by Friedrich, whoever that could be. There's no reason for you to be this late. You left with plenty of time. You know you made the correct train, but as you walk in to the Magnus Institute, you see on the clock, it's almost 9 o'clock right now. An hour later than you are supposed to be at work, and probably an hour and 15 minutes later than you were supposed to be here based on the train that you came that you traveled on. You know you hit the right train. How does your mind process this?
Pretty much running in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to be late. Something kept me.
And as you come in, you see that only Emily is here by herself. Doesn't even look like she started to work yet. She's just getting settled in.
Miss Ship. Is it only you?
It is. I don't know where everyone else is.
But they're all late. I am late myself, but
I did not think I was going to be late, and then I was late.
likewise, I was on this timely train.
I do know that sometimes a flower or a butterfly or something will catch my eye, and I've been known to lose minutes or 5, but not this many. I'll be curious when everyone else arrives what their morning was like.
And it's not much later than that. Lucian, you arrive at the church. You walk past this parking garage across the street from the church. The parking garage is just covered in graffiti, all sorts of mathematical designs, mathematical art. There's like the golden ratio just spiraling everywhere. And you see that there has been a tour that started, whether you have been looking at a watch or not, you know that this tour starting, they have a sign that says 9:15 tour on it. So you get an idea that you're running a bit late there.
I do not own a watch. It is not something I concern myself with. But those I work for care about punctuality. So I will hustle inside.
You start hustling inside. You start pushing past the tour group. And Frieda, you are drinking your coffee. You've only just had a couple sips because you said you're relatively close. And we'll say that you got the coffee pretty close to work, so you didn't have to carry it while biking that far. And you see Lucian going in, pushing past a tour guide that says 9:15 as well. You've lost an hour somewhere, too. You see him walking past.
And she just kind of like hops off her bike and she runs to where she locks her bike up. And she quickly locks it up. Lucian! And she just, to like get him to hold the door for her as she just kind of runs.
He will stop. He will turn his head first and then his body will follow. And then he will wait at the door for his sister.
Dank. And what a weird morning.
It was weird. How so?
This weird little man with black hair that was split, and he gave me this coffee on the house, and just unnerving. And I'm late for work, and I left an hour and a half ago. I don't live far.
Perhaps
and like
you
we're
are
walking.
mistaken. I too met a man this morning. He wanted to be my friend.
Oh.
He found my keys after I apparently had misplaced them.
That's bizarre.
Yes. I do not misplace my keys.
No, never.
With that
rewarded
pause.
him.
Sorry, go ahead.
I rewarded him for his good deed.
And Frieda knows what his rewards are, and she just kind of...
Immediate concern?
No, she just kind of does like that and just kind of hustles him into the office with her.
From there, we cut to Naveen. Naveen, you just went inside your apartment searching. It was locked. There's no signs of an intrusion. You can't help but feel gross, unsafe, violated in a weird way, to have your privacy kind of threatened. But there's no visible sign of anything in here. As you leave your apartment, knowing that you're going to be late to work, just accepting that at this point, You got a GM intrusion. And I'm going to say that you go out and you find your bike. The tires have both been slashed.
What is going on? This morning sucks.
Do you have a bike kit?
No, no. And I mean, she has her bike lock and everything that she was going to use, and she frustratedly sticks it in her bag and goes to try and find transit. And yeah.
Okay. So do you bring your bike back into your apartment, say, and then start commuting a different way?
No, she's just gonna lock it on site because she's already very late.
It's already slashed, so what else are they going to do at this point?
Yeah, well, she's gonna lock it
Other than take the whole
because
thing.
that's just what you do.
So you lock it up and you start trying to take a subway in or something like that to get a little bit closer before you have to walk the final bit crossing bridges here. You are crazy late. So everyone else got in between 9:20, somewhere in that range. You get in at 10:30. And you see that everyone's they're working, doing their basic bit. It seems that the meeting between Johanna and Ludwig is going a little bit later than it should. Normally it ends around 10. The fact that it's still going, there's something that's not being reconciled properly. It's nothing for you all to concern yourselves with. It tends to be just administrative things. They'd never discuss anything about statements or anything like that. Naveen, what do you do when you first get in? What's this look like as you enter to an audience?
First she kind of bursts in and I'm so sorry, I'm sorry I'm late. I just had a whole bunch of problems with my phone first, then my bike, and I'm so sorry. And she will go to her desk and first kind of just unload stuff on her cubicle, and she looks over to Lucy and is like, I have something for you. And that's how she enters the office, just fully non-apologetic, just apologizing, but fully. All the attention is oh shit, on her as soon as she comes in.
What is it?
What do you have?
She go to him and pull out 2 tickets from her pocket and hand it to Lucian and say, I'm seeing Hans this weekend, so I can't go, but I got these invites. It's there's this artist that's doing this limited run with some sneakers, and I thought maybe you might like to go, and maybe you could take Emily. But I mean, it's just ridiculous. Take whoever you want.
I might have plans. I have a
You
very...
don't have to go if you don't want. I just can't go, so it feels like a waste to hold on to them.
Many appointments to keep, but
Okay.
I will look at my calendar.
Yeah, I mean,
to see if I
if
am
you don't want to
free.
go, you don't have to go.
That is not what I said. I said I might be very busy. I will see.
Okay. Well, have fun.
I do not have fun. It would be purely for observation only.
And she laughs like he's clearly kidding.
And bear in mind, these cubicles are all a butt to each other, so everyone can hear the conversations that you all have together here.
And then Lucine will say, Emily, would you want to go to what was it, Naveen?
I don't know the artist, but apparently they're very good, and they're doing this art on some sneakers thing, so it's this gallery event thing. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. I just know I can't
do
go
not
this weekend.
wear sneakers, but I know that you are one who likes to craft your own clothing. Perhaps you will find it meaningful and enriching.
There's nothing that replaces, feeling the grass under your toes and not having them inside closed shoes. But you are right. You're right. It could be very, very lovely. You will go as well?
I do not have to. If you would like to go with someone else, that is fine.
And she's looking at Frieda a little bit to see if she's going to get any...
Sister, Frieda, you should go. You and Emily, you will enjoy this. You are much older and your social life is not
dead.
good.
I know.
Yes.
No, this seems more for young folk.
Yes. You know what? I'll take one of the tickets, and if you perhaps find that you're not busy, you could go with the other one. And Emily will hold out her
While they're
hand
kind
for
of
one of
figure
them.
out who's gonna do the tickets, Naveen has walked to her desk, and there's like, her desk is very personalized. Like, it's the kind of place that, like, if you looked at it, you can like immediately tell the personality of the person who uses that desk. Like, there's fear lights up, and there's pictures of people, and something that is not usually there but is there today is a small thing of roses with a note that says, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I'll see you this weekend, H.
All right. And as this conversation is still kind of like lingering, Naveen, you go to your desk to sit down. That's when the door opens to von Schluter's office, Ludwig's office. And you see Johanna coming out. They're 5'7", very frail frame. She steps out, and you see that Ludwig is right behind her, but she slams the door behind her so fast that it just like closes right in front of him. And she starts walking past you, not making eye contact with any of you. This is also very normal, this type of hostility and aggression from her. And just a moment later, the door opens again, and you see Ludwig come out with a full manila folder of paperwork. Well, I appreciate that you all have finally arrived. It is time to get to work. We have a new statement. Zander, what are you doing at your cubicle? What does your cubicle look like, too?
It's got paperwork towers stacked. The work from last night, weeks, months. It's just all laying around. It just doesn't get done. It just keeps piling up. There's also crumbs and wrappers of leftover meals, snacks, also lingering about. So it's pretty messy.
We have a lot of chaos gremlins here. For archivists, there's not much organization happening for most of you. No wonder there's a mother of the group.
Excuse you. There is organization that is known to the cubicle owner, not outsiders.
That's fair.
My Dotson Cherry is very meticulously organized. Did not give me an opportunity to describe
it. We'll get there, I promise. Zander, you will be lead investigator. Check the veracity of the claims. Mrs. Karen Jung seems to be quite distraught. Read the statement. Pick your group. It should be a small job. Take no more than one person.
Of course.
And he hands you this paperwork. And you start flipping through this. And I'm going to show everyone here. And we're going to have, this is Magnus Archives. So there's always a statement to read. So this is going to be a little bit of a listening time. We go into podcast mode. I fully expect podcast voice to come on here in a second in post editing. And as we see the statement of Karen Jean.
With 1 second, my laptop is slow.
Sorry, my laptop's going slow too. So it reads, witness name, Karen Jung, statement date, February 14th, 2025, just a couple weeks ago. Incident location is Tangstedt, which is a small town just north of Hamburg, about 45 minutes to an hour to drive. And it reads, my name is Karen Jung, and my family and I live in Hauptstrasse in Tangstedt. I'm here to tell you about the thing in my garden. About 6 months ago, we began to notice flying bugs we couldn't identify behind our house. They were red and green and looked like hornets a little bit. They would give you a painful sting if you disturbed them, but otherwise they left us alone. About a week after we first noticed them, we found a nest in the grass towards the back corner of our garden. It was hard and reddish-brown in color, with little holes for the bugs to go in and out. I don't mean to sound dramatic, but it smelled like death. Not like rot, but I remember the same exact smell at the mortuary after my mother passed. My husband, Tom, decided right then to call an exterminator. He phoned Beacon and Howe Pest Control, but they couldn't come out for almost a week. We told our son Nicholas to keep away from the nest, and we waited. The 2 men they sent out were strange. Huge, slow-moving men in gray uniforms. They went straight into the garden like they knew where they were going. Looking at the nest, which had grown to be almost 6 inches high with many more of the hornet things buzzing around, one of them asked, "Are you sure you don't want to keep it?" What a strange question. We said we wanted it and the bugs dealt with, and they agreed. The one that spoke, only one of them ever spoke, advised us to go inside. We did, and they went and got some kind of hinged wooden box from their van. Using shovels, they pried the nest up from the ground as a single piece and put it in the box. They didn't even wear any protective clothing, but the insects didn't seem to bother them. They were very odd. Without a word, they put the box in the van and drove off. We went out and there was just a shallow hole where the nest was, and no bugs to be seen. We thought we were done with it, although Tom worried that they hadn't mentioned the charge nor given us an invoice. About a week later, we started noticing the red and green bugs were back. I checked the spot and the nest was back too. They'd already rebuilt it to the size it had been before, maybe even a bit larger. I called Beacon and Howe to tell them the job wasn't finished. The man on the phone said they'd be out again in a week, and I told him we wouldn't pay unless they were really taken care of. You need to guarantee your work if you're going to stay in business, I told him. He just replied, uh-huh, and hung up. While we waited, we kept an eye on the nest, and every day it grew a little bit more, looking like a mound or a little tower filled with tiny holes. Even though I'd tried to keep him away from it, one evening Nicholas noticed small animal bones protruding from it. The nest was almost 15 or 16 inches high at this point. The next morning, my husband wanted to take photos to show the exterminators when they returned. When we went out there, though, the bones were gone, and the mound looked disturbed, like something had kicked it. Maybe an animal, we thought, but that was a sure way to get a lot of stings. The exterminators didn't show up the following week, and my calls just went to voicemail. The mound stood about 2 feet high at that point, and Tom took some photos of the very strange moment when we saw that the insects were all swarming in a bundle. It turned out they were swarming over a dead squirrel, dozens and dozens of them. And they weren't eating it like we thought at first. They were dragging it toward the mound. I almost threw up. No amount of searching the internet gave us any answers about what kind of bugs these were. I did find a photo of a nest very much like what we had from out near some badlands in the United States. That Saturday, Tom said he was going to drive to Beacon and Howe's office to talk to someone directly. I tried to get an appointment with a different exterminator, but wasn't having any luck. While I tried, Nicholas came into the kitchen. "Mom, something's weird." He took me outside and we saw a very sick-looking squirrel. Its fur was ragged and it looked emaciated. "I think those bugs have been attacking it." I said, "Don't go out there. Those things are dangerous." But then, as we watched, the squirrel's mouth opened and one of the red-green insects crawled out of it. We both gasped. The bugs were inside it? Was it the same squirrel we'd seen before? But that poor thing had been dead, without a doubt. This one was alive, but not doing well. "It must be a different one," I said under my breath, but Nicholas said quietly, "It's the same one. I was just looking at Dad's pictures. The phone rang, and I hoped it was one of the exterminators returning my calls. It wasn't. It was the police. Tom had been killed in a hit-and-run accident on the way back from Beacon and Howe. The next week was a blur. 9 days, not a week. I won't go into all of that. I can't even if I wanted to. I'm sure you can fill in those details yourself. Obviously, Nicholas and I were devastated. Are devastated. I can't even think straight to write this all down. The only thing I really remember from that week, amid the funeral, the family, and all of the arrangements, was a single moment staring out into our garden. The squirrel we'd seen had looked so bedraggled, was running up the tree next to the house, and it looked fine. There were some scars in places where its skin was still bare, but it scampered about as if nothing was wrong. I stepped out the back door and looked to the mound. It was at least 3 feet high now, a crusty tower riddled with dark finger-sized holes. At the base of it, the bugs were swarming over something again, inching it towards the nest. I think it might have been a dead raccoon. I'm going to spread Tom's ashes on the mound tonight. End of statement. Zander, what's going through your head as you're reading this? How much do you actually believe of this? How much of it seems like a hoax?
A lot of it seems a bit over-exaggerated to me. You're muted.
Steven, you're muted.
You go through this statement, and you're able to freely pass these things around the office. So everyone is able to read it. You get an understanding of it. Does anyone have any strong feelings about this? Would anyone try to jockey to be the one to go with Zander to check this out? The way a case normally works for you in the Institute is that someone is assigned a statement. You all collectively can do research online at libraries, things like that, before you go out, but usually only a single person goes to the actual site. So Zander, being one of the senior archivists, notably passed over by Ludwig. Frieda was notably passed over by Ludwig for this, was assigned this. Would any of you try to be the ones that gets to go with? What would you all be thinking about research?
Naveen definitely would. She wants to, this kind of thing, she's looking for a reason to substantiate her belief. And so any opportunity she has to do that, she tries to jump on.
How about everyone else? How are you feeling about this?
Emily's generally not jumping to do interviews.
I do not want to go with Zander. In my mind, I think I can go with him, but he will only undercut my intentions. He will question my abilities. I prefer to stay here. I'm curious about the death of this Tom. If there were any other circumstances, and I question why she would come to the conclusion to spread his ashes on the mound. She is a very suspicious character. She said, I am sure you can fill in the details, and I should not have to. But if she truly cared about discovering the truth, she would not have omitted it from her statement.
This lady is making up a story for us to clear a nest. All right, Naveen, you jump to this one. Let's go.
So before you actually head out, you would do your basic due diligence. Are there any points that you would try to research ahead of time? Looking up the family, looking up the area, anything from there. And anyone can call this out. This is a team effort here.
Yeah, police are involved. Someone could get on the records. Someone wants to do that.
And were there any news stories associated with this?
So news stories would be very easy to find because you're just searching Tangstedt, anything about hit and runs, things like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at local news.
It turns out that Beacon and Howe are not located in Tangstedt. Tangstedt's a very small little town, and it's close enough to Hamburg that most people would commute out of Hamburg, most of these companies. You find the Beacon and Howe is located on the north side of Hamburg, fairly close to Tangstedt. You don't really find much in the news about them. You do find the news of the hit and run. It appears that his car was hit head on by another car. It looks like it was a head-on collision. It was in a truck that hit a rather large work truck, but it was unmarked, and the driver was not to be found anywhere. The truck itself was also totaled, and it was left behind.
Okay. Naveen's gonna make it a point to give that information to Lucian to help with his research into Tom.
Zeno will take it. And you will say, I was suspicious of this story. It is very peculiar. There are no coincidences. Not in this manner.
No.
I shall see if there are any witnesses to the accident that might be able to offer additional information. Short of that, I shall find local shops and see if they have any security footage, or even better, if there were onlookers with their smartphones, perhaps filming the accident. This is the way.
Idea.
Thank you.
All right. So let's kind of break this into a couple things, because if you're looking for actual witnesses, they weren't any witnesses listed in the article, so that would require doing door-to-door work, which is something you can do. But while you're still here in the Institute, what would be easiest to pursue first would be looking at shops nearby, getting on Google Maps and seeing if there are cameras pointed in the area. I think this one would require a check. It's not the same as a simple Google search. Let's call this an investigation, an intellect. And I'm going to say difficulty, we'll say 4 on this, which means that you're looking for a 12 or better.
Who is it that is voting for this?
I'm sorry, Lucian, you were the one saying that you wanted to look for these things, so I would say you roll.
Could I apply some of my skills to perhaps ease this task?
What skill are you applying?
I have research. First and foremost.
Research tends to be going through archives and things like that. I don't think research would necessarily be looking for CCTV cameras on Google Maps.
Is Google Maps not an archive?
Not necessarily, no. I would imagine that's more in a library or institution setting. I think technology or some sort of investigation would apply better here.
Researching specifically says databases in physical archives. Is Google Maps not a database?
Take research. It's your first real roll. So difficulty 3. So you're looking for a 9 or better.
I've rolled it.
You rolled a nat 20 and you were giving me trouble over it.
Nat 20.
I was not giving you trouble. I was playing with the mechanics of the game. And you were denying my opportunity to use them.
I don't want to reward. You get a major effect on this. I'll give you the success, and I'll tell you that you see that there is a shady strip mall where the accident happened. The kind of shady strip mall that looks like it probably gets broken into quite often. You see that there are several CCTV cameras pointed all sorts of directions. How many of them would still be working? You don't know, but the odds are pretty good that there is camera of something nearby. There is footage of something nearby. What would you say your major effect you would like that to be? And in Cypher system, major effects can be they can be story altering in ways. So you can kind of change things to be your advantage here too.
I would like for one of the angles to be a partial view of the crash enough to see the driver of the vehicle that hit Tom head on.
All right. You are looking. You see, there is like I said, there's a lot of cameras that are on a single post in the middle of this parking lot, and two of them appear to be aimed the direction of where the crash would have been. And it looks like this post specifically is in front of a Chinese restaurant. So you would know that would be the place where you would have to talk to get the CCTV camera footage.
I will look to Frieda, and I will say, because I respect her authority as a senior, at least to me, archivist, and I will say, I would like to visit this restaurant to see if there are footage that might help us understand the nature of Tom's death. Do you need me here in the archives still, or may I leave?
I think that would be good for the investigation. Don't you agree, Zander?
Yes. If you found something, Lucian, you can check it out.
I did not ask you for permission. I was speaking with Frieda.
That's Frieda asked me. I simply responded.
It's your case. And you can tell, like, Frieda looks kind of pained that she was just carelessly passed over for it. But she was recently reprimanded for a thing with a case, and she's still kind of flabbergasted that she was, because she's not sure what she did wrong, because she follows everything by the book. But whatever, what does she know? And she turns back to Lucian. No, I think that would be good for the statement. We need more proof.
I shall find it.
It takes Lucian a bit of time to be doing this sort of research, trying to piece everything together. Naveen, you're going to go with Emily. We haven't heard from you in a minute. What have you been doing for this?
So Emily was most interested in the description and details of the insects, and so Emily has identifying. And so that would be what Emily would be looking to do, because identifying is about venturing a guess regarding the origin of unfamiliar objects, text, sounds, etc. So it felt like that would probably fit.
Yeah, I like this a lot. You don't have any pictures of the insects yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't start trying to figure out what they were talking about. You have description that they're hornets, they're red and green. You have an idea, a vague description of the nest that keeps growing, and you also have the Badlands in the United States to go off of. Let's call this intellect. We'll say difficulty 5 again, as you are.
Sorry, I didn't mean to roll it, because I think so. Just to walk through the mechanics, so because I have identifying as a skill, that would ease it 2.
That would. If it's a trained skill, it eases it by 1.
By 1. Okay.
So that would be difficulty 4 then. But you rolled a 16, so you beat it either way. And we'll say that you start compiling knowledge of hornets that fit these descriptions, especially American hornets, thinking that they might be an invasive species. But you do also look for anything that might be native to Europe or Asia or anything nearby. And you have a couple different species that are likely matches, and we'll say that when you actually see the hornets, these will ease the difficulty of anything surrounding them by 1 by doing this prep work.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Frieda, what would you be doing to support this?
Beacon and Howe came and originally did a collection of the nest. So she would be researching the company and trying to learn about their process of what do they do with these things that they take? Do they incinerate? How do they relocate? Will this be something we have to follow up and exterminate, kind of thing?
Okay. what specifically would you say you're going about doing research? Are you trying to like Google their website? Or are you trying to go through the Magnus archives?
I think she would do both. She'd check the website, but see if we have any other mentions of this company. Have they shown up before? Just kind of, again, to accumulate all knowledge on like this company.
All right. Give me a intellect. We'll say that this, if you have research as a skill, this would help because you're going through the archives here. This is going to be difficulty 3.
Okay, I do have researching. I just trained though, so that would make it down 1. But
So that means it's difficulty 2. So you needed a 6 or better. You rolled a 10. So that is a success. You go to the website first, and it looks like it's a 20-year-old website. It has very basic font and formatting, and it's kind of like crooked depending on which device you load it on. Like it's not been updated for modern technology. You go through the archives, and you do see that they're listed in a single statement. And only in passing as well. About 2 years ago, 2023, a man named Leroy Kolb gave a statement about an inordinate amount of flies in his garage, which he felt to be strange and supernatural. He mentioned that he ultimately employed Beacon and Howe to deal with the issue. And the statement says that the problem was dealt with in an unconventional manner, and it provides no other information.
Okay. And who is this gentleman who made this report?
Leroy Kolb.
She would take down all of his information. So, like, if he left contact information or such, and she'd probably eventually follow up with him.
Yeah, you'd be able to get the contact information that was supplied there. You'll be able to follow up on that in the future then.
Okay.
Naveen, you basically got assigned to this case, but that doesn't mean you don't have time to do prep work beforehand. What would you try to be looking into?
I had found out details about the hit and run from the local news and handed them over to Lucian. So was that it, or can I do
if you're trying to search the local news, like there wouldn't be much more to find from that article.
Right.
It's very basic, and it was only in a single website, a local news for Tankstedt. It was a hit and run, and it's tragic. It's unfortunate, but there was nothing.
Was there a name of the truck, the company the truck was with?
So the truck was unmarked. It was a work truck, but there was no company name on it. And the article does not mention anything about owners.
Is there a picture associated with the story that has license plate numbers on it?
I think the only picture that would be there would be a picture of Tom as the victim, and it shows him with what you would assume would be Karen. They're middle-aged Korean. They both have he's got short buzz-cut black hair. She's got longer black hair that's parted on the side. They both seem pretty happy in this picture. Like, you can tell that they chose the best picture to be shared.
Sure.
Something to remember him by.
Sure. I think everyone is looking into the things I would otherwise look into, so I don't have anything further. Thank you.
What about you, Zander?
So I don't have too many like researching abilities and stuff. So
that doesn't mean that you can't do it still. Like, this is still your job. So you are familiar with how all of these things work. Whether you excel at them is a different story. And if there's nothing you want to research for, that's fine. You could be doing like administrative tasks, like the Magnus Institute has a van that you all are able to use. You don't have to use your vehicles to go to these places. So you could be just getting it ready, getting all the paperwork around, making sure that you've got all the administrative tasks in order.
Okay, I can do that. Maybe prepare some materials or tools that we'll need for the job.
Okay, so knowing that there could be an extermination possibly in there, you want to get a shovel. What kind of tools would you want?
something like a smoker, maybe a bee suit in case there are insects still lingering.
All right. So this would be a little bit more strange equipment to find. You'd have to go to a like lawn care store to find anything that like is specifically for insects, or if you want like a actual smoker and like bee suit, you would have to like probably find a pest control, because that's not something that you normally walk into a store and get these days. So what would you really be going for? Would you be going for like pesticide type stuff, or would you want like the specialized things?
Let's do just more pesticides, easy to get.
That's perfectly fine to get. And you would, however, have one stumbling block, and that is Ms. Johanna Klein. She is in charge of the purse strings, so to speak. And if you want the company card to purchase these things, you're going to have to get approval for the expenses from her. You know that she is notorious about saying no to these things. She's very tight about what she offers coverage for. What would be your plan of attack, so to speak, to try and sway her? Because with Johanna, you need to have a convincing argument.
Yeah, Johanna. Need this
Yeah,
purchase.
what do you need?
Need pesticides. The job will not be done. The paperwork is piling.
And I should care why?
Well, it keeps growing.
It is your job. You must do your job.
Yeah,
I will not do it for you.
I cannot do my job without these pesticides.
Well, then go get them. Them.
Does that mean you approve?
I approve you leaving.
I don't need your approval for that. I'm just like,
Well, then go. She does not make any motion to give you the company card. If you'd like to press this with a logical standpoint, I would require a check. It's going to be intellect, and it's going to be difficulty 7. So anything you have to try and pull it down. 7, of course, being 21, which you cannot roll on a d20.
Can I be with him?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can
And,
assist. Is somehow you can whatever you're offering to assist would lower it by 1 step.
Okay. I would like to use my understanding ability. So what my understanding is, you observe or study a creature object. Your next interaction with the creature object gains 1 asset. I think how I like to flavor that, and that's a 1 in point spend, which I'm fine to. But I think how I'd like to flavor that is I'd like to understand what I think would land with her, like as an argument.
You know her kryptonite. You have been paying attention and observing her for some time. So Zander, you'll get 1 ease for the assist, and then 1 more because Naveen is using understanding. Normally that's for a check you roll rather than assisting, but we'll definitely make it work here. You know that Ms. Klein is very much swayed by apple strudel. So if you had gone out for pastries on your way in, or knowing that you were about to ask, you went out for a few minutes to grab one, that would definitely help your case. Miss Klein is definitely someone who can be bought at the price of apple strudel.
Is there a way to say I may have done this already, or would I?
Yeah,
have
with
to
with your
right
understanding,
now?
we'll say that you have.
Okay.
That's
So,
what I was trying to get at. Sorry.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. So as the approach in this conversation looks like it's maybe starting to spread. Like, okay, listen, I'm so sorry. I and hands over this like pink box. Like, There's this bakery that just opened near my house, and I had this like brightness to my phone this morning, but I stopped at this bakery because I've heard they do really good apple strudel. I bought some pastries for all of us there in the break room, but this one I got for you specifically, and I'm gonna give her the apple strudel.
And as you come over, you're likable. And Johanna kind of like ever so slightly softens a little bit. You just see a slight chink in her armor there, and you put the apple strudel down, and she doesn't move to take it. She says, 9. I shouldn't. But Zander, let's go ahead and get your roll
It's not
here.
that much. It's like it's negligible.
And Zander, you can also spend 3 points to ease it again. You've had it eased twice now, so your difficulty 5. So you need a 15 or better. If you spend 3 points from intellect, which you don't have to, I'm just saying you can, that would put it down to difficulty 4, which would be 12 or better.
Yeah, I was about to ask for spend anyways, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll roll. Roll a 4. That was terrible.
Yuck.
Well, if you don't want the strudel, more for me.
I
I'll
also
take on the way
have
out.
friendly help, which is if your friend tries a task and fails, they can try again without spending effort if you help. You provide testimony to your friend even if you are not training the task they have retried. Is that something that can be used in this mode?
Yeah, let's go for it. This is just trying to get approval for money, so this is not the most consequential. But she is one of your biggest adversaries at the moment. So Zander, you can get a reroll here.
Oh, sweet. Uh, 13
exactly,
Oh,
or
it's enough.
13. You just barely beat difficulty 4, which is what you got it down to. As you go to take the strudel away, you say, "Well, you guess you don't want that," and you start walking. 999, come back. Fine, just do not tell Ludwig that I gave this to you. I will make sure the paperwork is filled out properly. And she hands you the Visa card.
Naveen reached over and clasped her hand without being invited to, and just, you are the best.
I know. Go on, go. And as you go back in to collect your things to begin heading out, Zander, you go back to your cubicle and you start whatever, your wallet, your phone, whatever it is you've left. You hear a rumbling overhead. It almost feels like an earthquake or something like that, as there's a slight shaking. It's not enough to knock anyone over, but you see a vibration. And then just like that, there is a snap as one of these pipes above you just breaks from the vibration, the pressure. One of these fire sprinklers just starts spraying, and it just starts gushing water down all over the office. Immediately, everyone, you react however you do. Ludwig comes rushing out of his office. Mein Gott, what? Protect the papers! As this water is just pouring down by the gallon. How are you responding?
What is this? I'm putting my body over my desk, trying to cover all the papers.
Oh yeah, Frieda is frantically grabbing stuff and getting it out to a safer location.
Let's see. He's standing. His face turns upward. And he opens his arms and he welcomes the water.
Emily, what are you doing?
Emily has sort of that very big flowy skirt. And so basically she just takes the skirt off and throws it over her cubicle to kind of cover all of the papers.
Yeah, just to protect it as much as possible. How about you, Naveen?
Naveen is more reacting to the energy in the room rather than the actual stuff that's happening. So I think she's also been kind of panicking and a little manic and trying to follow Frieda's lead in getting papers to safety.
And Ludwig, immediately starts going towards the cubicle that has all of the banker's boxes just stacked up. These are just cardboard boxes, not waterproof in the slightest. And he's doing his best he can to try and get them further away, but the water is already starting to pool on the concrete floor underneath your cubicles. When Johanna comes in from that entrance room, my idiots. And she goes and she starts spinning the main shutoff to the fire hydrant, and it slows down the water a little bit, slows it down until finally it's just drips coming. Why must I do everything? And she finally gets it. Just this tiny little woman is manhandling this like very stiff shutoff valve as everything is soaked. Lucian, we didn't get to know what your cubicle looks like. What got soaked in your cubicle?
My cubicle is filled with every memorandum and TPS report cover that he has ever been issued. And that they are tacked to the wall, and on them are drawings, many drawings, to the point where you can no longer read the text on these documents.
Fantastic.
And that is the only embellishment he has allowed.
I'm never going to know when you're done talking. This is just going to be the whole campaign. Frieda, we haven't heard about your desk either. What's gotten ruined at your desk?
So Frieda's desk is very organized. So it was pretty easy for her to grab up her files and not worry about them getting soaked. But she did have like a couple potted plants. So the dirt has washed all over her desk. And she's worried that they're going to die because they've been overwatered at this point.
Absolutely. And the water has stopped. There's still drips coming down. But it's not nearly as bad as it was before, as like the panic sort of subsides. And Ludwig is just rubbing his bald head, putting his hands through the little bit of hair he has around the horseshoe around his head. My God, we will need professional cleaners. This is a nightmare. This will take forever. I will clean up your desks as best you can. I will have them come as soon as possible. We will get no work done. Zander, when this is finished, when everything is cleaned, take everyone with you. However long this investigation will take, it will be more productive to have everyone than just everyone sitting around doing nothing around here.
Got it. The work will be finished sooner if everyone's on it.
And
Right.
Emily's eyes got very wide at the idea that he was going to clean off our cubicles, and she's just kind of shaking her head.
He didn't necessarily mean your cubicle. He just meant like the actual, like the flooded area. He's going to have cleaners come in. He was trying to tell you to clean your cubicle specifically, and then they'll have cleaners come in, and the office will be shut down basically for a week as they try to get all the water and make sure there's no mold or anything like that afterwards.
And Emily is relieved at this clarification that no one is going to touch her stacks because her stacks are exactly as she stacked them. And so she is going to sort of like take the skirt that had been acting as kind of a tent, and then she's going to like flip it upside down as if the other side is suddenly drier. And she's going to treat it as if it is a sort of bag that she's just stacking all of these like piles on, and then just like tying it up on the top. All done.
The rest of you start going, trying to clean as best you can, getting everything set aside. You break out. Go ahead, Lucia.
Lucian will approach Ludwig, and he will get very close. And he will say, "If you wish to accelerate the drying process, perhaps you should send someone to a hardware store. but they might purchase a number of fans and return them to the Institute and turn all of them on to dry the
Won't
water.
the cleaners have fans?
I am only merely stating a way to accelerate.
Fine. Go get vents.
I am busy.
Zander, go get vents.
I'm going to the hardware store anyways. I'll pick them up.
Sehr gut. And Ludwig then decides to leave the rest of you to your cleaning and
Good.
goes into his office. Gut.
Naveen does go up to Emily's head, and as she's tidying it, it's Monday, right? Your flowers probably got ruined.
And Emily will look over to the chrysanthemums that she had kind of put over there that are like very much drenched. Oh, well.
Not just drenched, actually. As you look over at them, they look as if they're at least 2-3 weeks old. Like they haven't been replaced in some time. Other than like being soaked, like they were immersed in water, the petals were dry and cracked, like shriveled up, and a lot of them were entirely pulled off by the weight of the water hitting down because they were so dead and loose.
So seeing that, Naveen, I'm sorry. It's Mondays. You usually bring fresh flowers, and I thought maybe you had, but I guess not.
I did. That was where I lost time this morning. I was stopped to get flowers, as I do on Mondays, and this very odd gentleman was standing outside the window staring at me and pointing to the clock and telling me that I was late. Oh,
I was
that's
late
right.
because of some guy this morning too, and my phone also, but it's been such a messed up morning.
A guy with hair parted intensely down the middle?
Yeah, like black hair. He was
And a suit.
I lost my phone, and then I tried to call my phone for someone whose number that I've never met her before, so I don't even know how he had her number. But he called from my phone, and then when I went back home, he wasn't there. But he was this tall, thin guy with black hair, and he said he was in my house. It was so gross, Emily.
He knew my name, and she goes to reach in her bag. I have his card. Actually, he gave, and then she reaches for her bag.
Oh, I didn't get his name.
Dumps some water out that kind of went into the bag they were sitting on. But the business card was sort of in a pocket.
Yeah, and you pull out the card, and the water definitely got it, and it's still intact, but a lot of the ink has been smudged, and a lot of the words have just completely been washed off. All that's left is miles and just lots of ink surrounding it.
Well, this was his card. He said that he was Miles Mueller, and that he worked at the courthouse.
I didn't even ask. I didn't ask any. I just thought he had my phone, So I went back to here, get my phone, but
So you saw a man with parted hair down the middle. I saw a man with parted hair down the middle, and Emily will kind of look to Frieda and Lucian and Zander.
Your description of a man is very similar. You're saying we're all late because he met us this morning.
Wait, you saw him too, Zander?
He said he was a friend of Frederick.
That old guy from the bar?
Yes.
And Frieda's standing there with her coffee that the guy gave her, and she's just kind of dumping its contents into the trash can at this point, because she's really freaked out now that everyone has seen this man.
Why are you
Let's see
dumping
him.
out your coffee?
Because the creepy little man with the split hair gave me my coffee this morning. He said it was from the
saw
house.
him too. Did all of us see him? Lucian, did you see him?
So Lucian is standing
Sorry.
behind Emily, and he will say, I saw him too. He stole my keys, and he pretended that he found them for me. And then he wanted to become my friend.
I think
Perhaps,
that's what happened with my phone too.
perhaps if we find some way to test these phone and these keys for fingerprints, we might find an identity for this man. But the bigger question is, how could he have been in 5 separate places in Hamburg at roughly the same time,
Yes.
since all of us were approaching the Institute for the same time?
Those flowers, I bought them this morning and they look like they've been there for weeks. We lost an hour or so this morning. Have we lost more since we've been here?
I think I lost an hour. I just had to take transit because my bike got wrecked.
Are there other plants here where we could examine them and compare them to yours to see if they too have advanced in age?
Oh, well, and Frieda,
I
you
did
just
have
put-
flowers on my desk, but they were like cut flowers. Similar, I would imagine, to the.
Perhaps we should also investigate the break room refrigerator to see if any food has spoiled prematurely.
I'd like to go look at the roses on my desk. That's a suggestion.
The plants on your desk are like Frieda's. They were flooded. They're likely going to die soon because of way too much water. But they are intact right now.
Mine look fine. I mean, waterlogged, obviously, but
Lucian,
Interesting.
how does the fridge look?
Lucian will open the fridge and look
How many of
inside.
you? How many of you bring in lunch, and how many of you eat out? Who brought in lunch this morning?
I've got quite a bit of meals just prepped in there.
Okay. Did you bring them in
Lucian
this morning?
has-
It is Monday.
This morning,
Amazing.
maybe yesterday. I've got a lot of
You
meals.
came in on Sunday to put meals in the work fridge.
Oh, it's
that's
Monday.
so perfect.
Well, I left it on Friday.
Okay, you left them in Friday. Frieda, you said you brought meals in today.
Mhm.
Lucia?
Lucian has no need for nourishment. However, he does steal Zander's and Frieda's food when they are not looking.
Insane.
Rita totally doesn't pack extra food intentionally for Lucian. You know, definitely not.
My big sister is wise. Zander is the fool.
Naveen and Emily,
Football?
did you bring in food today?
Naveen never does. She, especially on Mondays, she does because she generally Mondays is her day to have lunch with the security guys. So she generally doesn't bring lunch, and Mondays specifically she has the thing she does.
And Emily will get food out wherever, if they happen to be out, they'll get food out, or at some point she'll realize she hasn't eaten and it's 3 and she'll go grab something.
So Frieda, you brought in food today, likely bringing in extra just in case someone else was going to steal some. What did you bring in today?
She brought some sort of like chicken pasta dish and then salads.
Okay. Lucian, you go in the meals that Zander has prepped, minus 1 or 2 if you've already taken them, but maybe not. It's Monday. They all look fine. But then you pull out the salad, and it looks rotten. It looks like this lettuce has been in here for a month. It's that like gross black brown, and there's like that puddle of moisture in the bottom. It's turned into this like gross rotten soup. And you pull out this chicken pasta dish, this chicken parm, and that it not just moldy, but you feel a little buzz, a little vibration. You can see that there's just mold on top of this clear plastic container, and you also feel that there is like a vibrating inside of it. You can't see through the clear just because there's so much mold on it.
Lucian will reach inside to discover the origins.
You pop open the lid.
Sorry. No, I'm just fucking around with you.
You pop open the lid, and not only are there these like larvae like that are just like pulsating as they move, they like grow and shrink as they like dig through this rotten chicken and pasta, but also this tiny hornet, this like jade green hornet flies out and just starts buzzing around.
Lucian will try to snatch
Speed test difficulty 6.
Out of the air. Is there a coffee mug in my vicinity?
Yes, there are plenty of coffee mugs around. There's
assist me?
30 coffee mugs for the 7 people that work here.
Would that assist me, do you think, in grabbing this?
Sure. So the coffee mug will be a tool that offers eases it down to difficulty. I said 7, so it'll be 6 now.
I have 2 other arguments to make.
Let's hear.
The first is stealth. I shall sneak up on the flying hornet. It shall not see me coming.
Let's hear the second argument before I decide on the first.
The second argument is gymnastics. I am
like
quite agile. My arms are very long, and they are devoid of mass currently, so they move without parting the air.
I think the hornet would be aware of you considering you released it, and there is no shadow or any cover to take, so I don't think stealth would apply here. I do like gymnastics in the coffee mug, bringing it down to.
So what am I at now?
Difficulty 5. You need a 15. Spending any points for effort?
Like to spend effort. Yes. Do I spend 3 points in speed, or do I spend effort?
You spend
Excellent.
3 points in speed, which is applying, or no, that's different than effort. I'm sorry. I'm getting my terms mixed up. But it is 3 points in speed to lower it by 1. And it's reduced by your edge, too. So if you have an edge in speed, it would be 2 points.
Stefan, you are doing an excellent job. Do not apologize. Okay. I have another argument.
I like to argue.
This is not a good one. I was going to use philosophy, and I shall espouse passages from Kierkegaard to perhaps lure the hornet into a sense of slumber.
If you can paraphrase a passage from Kierkegaard right now, I will give it to you.
This is theology and stakes all over again, and I'm so
I'm not
here
going to
for
do
it.
Because it's too ridiculous.
Could I
There must be
assist?
some semblance of normalcy here.
I would also like to be walking into the break room at this time to potentially give friendly help because I really want this to succeed.
We're friendly with the hornets now.
No.
All right, so both Frieda and Naveen see you grab the mug. They see the hornet come up. They see what you're doing. They both want to assist. How are you trying to assist?
I have tracking. So I would like to just call out like where it's going and help keep an eye so he can easily snatch it.
I'm
Really
just
pushing the
going to
limits.
do friendly help if this fails.
Or perception.
Okay.
I have
A
perception
reroll.
as well.
I like perception more, but it was really more of a
yes.
narrative thing. It doesn't require a skill. So Frieda is helping you, Lucian, and if you fail, Naveen might be able to give you another.
I also have perception. I forgot about this.
All
That
right,
is
so
a
we'll.
good argument.
I do like perception because it's a small hornet, so perception
So
would
we are
help. So
down to
reduce it.
0.
We were at 7. You reduced twice. You spent to reduce again. You got help. You're down to 2. So
I
you need
have
6 or better.
Mathematics, and I believe we are down to 0. But I will roll it nonetheless.
Oh no!
I rolled a 1.
All right, so that's a GM intrusion.
Can
I like this.
do more
There's
friendly help on critical or no?
So actually, friendly help says they can try again if you help. I'm confused about that. It doesn't seem like there's a limit about that. It might be that you need to help before. I think I would say that you could. So, Lucian, if you don't want the GM intrusion, you could get the reroll with the friendly help.
She has offered, and it would be rude to not take it. So I shall take it and try again. I shall roll
There we
a
go.
13. Or
Hell
I beg
yes.
your pardon.
Lucian, you see the hornet on a counter, and you take this coffee mug and you just slam it down hard as can be. The coffee mug shatters. The hornet goes flying up, spinning around in a panic because of the noise and the movement. You quickly, with your gymnastics, do a cartwheel over and grab another coffee mug, and you slam it down again, seeing where the hornet was going thanks to Frieda's perception and tracking. And you slam it down this time with the correct amount of force.
Yelling over
Yes.
there.
Screaming.
There is a hornet in here. He shall
You
shout.
bring the coffee mug down. This time it does not shatter. And you have trapped a hornet on this folding table is what it actually was. You're threatening to, you're shaking the whole table here, but you have trapped the hornet underneath.
You will say, there was a hornet in the food. The food, like Emily's roses, or whatever flower they were.
Sentiments.
I'm not going to attempt to say that word with my current accent. Why did you pick the most difficult flower to say?
They're so pretty.
However,
did you say you have a hornet? I really wanted to investigate it. I have some ideas about what it might be.
Right. I was getting to that. Everyone needs to calm down. This was a moment of excitement. But we have multiple situations this morning that were peculiar. A man whose apparent presence seems to have altered our perception of time. We have a case that involves bugs. Unfortunately, the woman was not more forthcoming about the precise insect. I thought it prudent to capture this because there are no coincidences. And so he's going to slide underneath the mug some sort of magazine so that he might carefully lift it and hand it to Emily gently. And his fingers, which are currently coated with maggots and slime, will carefully brush against hers as he makes the delivery.
Very romantic.
Emily is so excited about this bug.
Please wash your hands.
And Lucian will mistake her excitement not for the bug, but for him.
Emily, you take this magazine and mug. It's greasy, but you've got it. And you feel the vibration ever so slightly. It's not like this is very strong, but you feel like a tap on different sides of the mug. You hear the buzzing inside, and it continues, and it kind of grows into a crescendo until you feel almost like the hornet must be spinning around, flying as hard as it can to get out, continuing, and then It stops, and you hear a tiny little tink, like a little drop, as if the bug just gave up, and it's just lying there now.
It seems to have stopped. Lucian, if I lift the mug up, can you be at the ready in case it flies away again?
Perhaps what we should attempt to do is replace the container. Do we have an alternative that is clear?
Oh,
Do we have
anything
any
clear?
glasses? Perhaps empty out one of Zander's lunches. He often brings them in transparent packages.
That's
It
no big
makes it
deal.
easier.
You're
It's
able to
rotten
go
anyway,
through.
right?
You find something like a plastic container that you are able, and we'll say that you quickly do. You succeeded in catching this, so I'm not going to require a check to swap it. So one of you just has like the other lid ready to go, and you pull the mug and then slam it down. And as you do that, you see that the Hornet stays on its side. Its legs look like it's crumpled up a little bit. You see rather clearly through this case that it may not be dead, but it's definitely like hibernating at the very least. There's no movement here. It's this jade green, but you see the back of it. It's a rather large thorax, I think is the technical term for the butt of this hornet. And it looks as if it's sort of like scraped itself, ground itself in the coffee mug when it was spinning, as some of it seems to be chipped and a little bit broken. It could be from when you hit it with the coffee mug, but maybe not. And you see that it's kind of like an arc on the bottom where you can see a little bit of like white, like almost like fleshy. This hornet, it's rather big, so you can see the detail fairly good. And there's this sort of like black ooze that, like, because of the way it was spinning, it's kind of like graded down. Lucian, you cannot help but when you look at this, you just see a smile with black paint. Like it's just very clearly that same shape. Emily, this would have no context for you.
Lucian will lean down and he will put his face quite close. And he will say, "Hello, friend. I did not think we would see each other again so soon."
And Emily just sort of looks to Lucian. Lucian, you recognize the hornet?
Not the hornet. This morning at my home, I was visited by a man described by Frieda and Naveen. However, I gifted him a piece of art that I provided him in this face of this hornet. Bears a similar likeness, but perhaps I am just leaping to conclusions. Do you not see the man? Look closer, Emily. Do you see a smiling face?
And Emily will lean in, and we're looking through like Tupperware because we're kind of looking at this, and she'll kind of like lean in from like an alternate angle and see if this looks at all like the man's face and a smile.
I mean, if you wanted to humanize it, you could argue that it's a smile. Definitely not like a full face, but it would be like a grin with like streaks down it. If you can like visualize the man in the moon, Emily, visualize that, then you could probably make out like a smile. If your character wouldn't be able to like put faces to animate objects like that, you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, she like looking at her skills and kind of getting used to her as a character, she has like astronomy and occultism and different things. So I would say that she's open to that kind of a thing. So like if someone tells her it looks like there's a face, she'll see a face, essentially. I think.
Yeah, so you would see like this wide grin that almost looks like bleeding black blood or something like that.
I think I do actually see that. And she kind of looks back to everyone else. So we have a flood. We've lost time. Our flowers and food have died all on this Monday morning.
We'll go ahead and end that scene there. We'll say the rest of the afternoon is spent trying to figure out what this bug is, trying to clean up your desks as much as possible, trying to salvage what you can. You do have computers and electronics to worry about as well. So there's a lot to do here. And this statement from Karen Jung is kind of put on the back burner for the rest of the day as you're trying to get things sorted. Zander, you go out, you grab fans, you grab your insecticide. You do have the visa already, so you don't need to get permission to get the fans. Although you do know that there will be a reckoning when that bill comes in, and it's much higher than it should have been. But that is a problem for another day. And we'll say that you end the night there. You all go home, and you plan on meeting up at St. Catherine's Church tomorrow morning, but not actually going to the Institute because the office will be closed for the rest of the week. And instead, you will meet up and you will grab the van. Zander, you're the one who's getting the van. What does this van look like? Is it like a work van? Is it a minivan? It's big enough to carry all of you plus some supplies.
Yeah, just a plain white van. It's not.
We are in Germany, so if you wanted like the VW van, we could. It's your call, though. If you want to Scooby-Doo it.
Yeah, we're mysterying it.
All right, we got the mystery machine. What color is it?
Let's make it nice blue.
Blue. Okay. So we're gonna have to change our whole overlay then to make it blue to match the van. No, I'm joking. It's got this nice sky blue, maybe VW van. You all pile in the next morning. Morning goes fine. No instances of meeting Mr. Mueller. You may go to the same places. You may avoid them just out of stress or fear. And you begin this drive to Tangstedt, which is about 45 minutes away from the church. It's a lot more difficult in the morning because of commuter traffic. It's a little frustrating to have to meet in the center of the city like this, but that is where the Institute is, and you have to take the company van, regardless of whether you have vehicles of your own, which we know at least one of you does. You have to meet there to get the van. You're not allowed to take it home, park it anywhere else. You begin driving. It's stop, go. But fortunately, you're leaving the city instead of entering, and that makes things a little bit easier, especially once you get to the outskirts. Then everything opens up, and you find yourself in nice countryside. It gets rural very quickly as soon as you leave the city proper. And you're traveling through these highways. You're not on the Autobahn very long, but you are for a little bit. And then you get to Tangstedt, and there's kind of like an oppressive feeling to these roads. The roads are narrow. There's a lot of trees and hedges that grow up on either side. There's not a lot of space, not a lot of shoulder. And when you make it to the city of Tangstedt, this becomes even more narrow, as you don't have the farms on the other side of these hedges or fields to open things up. You have houses. These are very generic German houses. They tend to be rather square and with tile roofs, often with clay tile or this new type of plastic style. They're boxy with a very, very simple roof. These are houses that tend to be quite old and have just been modernized over and over. These are not new constructions at all. They're just buildings that have been continually renovated over and over and over again. Some are nicer than others. Some are beat down. By the time you hit 34 Hauptstrasse, which Hauptstrasse is like Main Street, like it is just the main road going through Tangstedt. You are actually looking at the back of the Zhang household, where there is a fence with it's a post fence with horizontal planks that are probably about 8 inches wide each, with little gaps in between, but you can't see through the gaps because there is vines that are just growing entirely through them and blocking everything. You see that there's a break in the fence where you can see a decaying tree stump underneath, and someone just nailed new planks over that gap after the tree was removed to cover it up. And the vines are sort of growing through there, but they haven't fully covered it yet. And just driving by, you can see a little bit of the house beyond. It seems to be pretty simple. You can see a sliding back door. You can see that there's a children's playset, like the metal swings. But then you continue around and you loop to the main driveway. And there's plenty of space to park. There is one car in the driveway. You park along the street. And you see that this front yard is rather narrow. There's not much to it here. It seems like the lot is somewhat cramped, and most of the space is in the back garden. How would you like to approach this? What is your plan of attack?
We would like to speak with Miss Karen. I will check out the perimeter.
I couldn't speak with her.
Do you think that we should request permission to explore her property?
I do. And if she says no, maybe we can get in anyway, but I don't expect her to say no.
We are not law enforcement. We are just here asking questions.
Exactly. So which way? I don't think she'll say no.
If she
I
says
trust
no,
you.
we'll find a way in.
Yeah.
So, Naveen, you said you'd like to speak with her. Zander, you said you want to check out the back, but there is a fence that goes. It goes all the way around the side. So you're without actually like breaking that barrier, you can look back behind you, get a sense of like mustiness, a smell that's overpowering, despite being outside. It's somewhat sunny today, so there's no real reason for that. There was rain yesterday, so maybe it's left over. Don't really hear much, maybe a faint buzzing from behind, but you're still towards the front of the house, so you can't really get much of a sense there. Naveen, you're going up to the front door, and you go up the driveway. You see that there's a minivan. It's got a booster seat in the back, but it's just the bottom at this point. It's not like the full child seat. It's just to give them a little bit more height. And you see that there are like toys and action figures lying on the floor. You see like there are crumbs and fries, just generic family van, the mess that it becomes in that back seat. You have to like step over a bicycle that's just lying down on the driveway. It looks like it's been there for some time. With the rain yesterday, you can see that it's still wet. Definitely no one's taken it out today. Who is going up to the front door with Naveen?
I would go.
Not Emily.
Mutzian will not as well. Is there a mailbox on the street? Or is it on the porch?
I think there would be a mailbox on the street, but we'll get a German in the audience that might be able to correct me. We're going to say for now there is a mailbox on the street, yes.
Mutzian would like to very carefully and without causing alarm look inside the mailbox to see if there is mail.
You open the mailbox and there are immediately sirens coming as police cars come down the street. You've triggered the silent alarm on the mailbox. No,
that is not true. I am stealthy.
That is not true. That was a GM intrusion, is what we call that in Cypher. But I'll go ahead and take it back.
I find your face intrusive.
You open the mailbox and it is rather full. It it's not like bursting or anything like that, but it's packed. It looks like no one's gotten the mail in quite some time. You see you're looking just like maybe touching a couple corners to kind of like push them through. Many of them are bills. Some of them are like magazines and literature. One of them is actually listed as from a funeral home nearby with a Tankstedt address. You can just tell that it's been at least a week since someone has checked the mail.
Sin will take the mail and he will put it into his backpack. He has a messenger bag that he wears. It is also black, and he puts them inside of it for perusal later. And he will call for to Frieda, and he will say, "Sister,
Ah,
no one has checked the mail in quite some time. Perhaps there is no one there, or perhaps what you will find inside is a very disturbed woman. Be careful."
okay. And as we're approaching the house, Frieda would like to like look at the windows and stuff. Are there like an accumulation of
There
bugs?
are curtains that are completely drawn over, so you can't actually see much inside these windows. They almost look like blackout curtains. Go ahead and give me an intellect check. We'll say difficulty 3, so you need a 9 or better.
Okay.
You have perception, right?
I
That would definitely
do.
work.
I'm specialized in perception.
Oh, so it goes down to 2 steps. So you only need a 3 or better here.
Okay.
Specialized, fancy.
Blackout curtains. She has very good taste.
8. I succeed.
All right. They are not actually blackout curtains. You see, these are regular curtains, but you see there are multiple layers of fabric that have been piled over, as if someone wanted to make sure that there would be absolutely no light coming out or no visibility in. You see that there are multiple blankets that have been put over the curtains that would normally be there. As for bugs, I'll say that you do see one. There is a dead hornet inside that might have gotten trapped beneath behind the curtain, but there's not like a swarm of them or anything like that.
Okay, so it's not like a decomposing body inside with flies.
It could be, but with all these blankets and curtains over it, the flies would have trouble getting through.
Got it. Okay. Oof. All right.
So Frieda, you were looking at the window kind of off to the side. Naveen, you get to the front door. Do you knock?
I do. Or ring bell.
You ring the bell. You knock. No response to either.
I'm
then-
gonna call. Hello?
After a moment, you pull out your phone as if you're about to call the house. That's when you hear a jiggling on the inside. You hear a chain drop down and dangling. You hear a bolt unlock. And you see the doorknob twist open. And just barely the door creaks open and you see a little boy. Maybe 10 years old. Korean boy. He's got disheveled, straight black hair. Looks like he just rolled out of bed. He's wearing like play clothes, like a t-shirt and shorts, but they are just wrinkled as can be. It looks like he's been sleeping in them for some time. He's blurry-eyed. Yeah. What can I do for you?
Hi. We're just here to talk to your I don't know, your mother, your grandmother, Karen Jung.
No one is home. I cannot talk. And he goes to shut the door.
Nicholas.
How do you know my name?
Your mother left us a message. We're here to check up on you. You said she's not home. How long has she been gone? Over about a week?
Nine. She is home. We are busy.
Oh, are you sure we can't speak with her?
Yeah, it not a good time.
You can.
If he
What's-
is gonna call over the voice, Mrs. Jung, we're here from the Institute following upon your statement.
In a moment. And Nicholas goes to close the door, but in like a more agreeable way.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it close, but you don't hear it lock. And after a few moments, you hear the step, muffled talking, and the movement behind, almost like you can sense it just because they're so close. And then the door opens again, and you see Karen Jong, who you recognize from the photo in the article. Yes, what is it?
Hi, Karen. We're following up on your statement with the Magnus Institute. Regarding.
She runs her hands through her hair, trying to like straighten it out, like with her fingers as a comb. She's got this like straight black hair, but it's also disheveled, looking like she hasn't been sleeping much. She definitely hasn't combed in a while. She's also wearing clothes that are very, very wrinkled, like she's been sleeping in them as well. Yes, I didn't mean to leave the statement. I shouldn't have sent that. It's fine. I was distressed.
About
Naturally.
Tom, yes?
You see her kind of like wince at hearing his name. Yes.
I'm so sorry. We're so sorry.
We would like to look at the nest if it's still in your backyard. We can smell it.
9. No, it's gone.
Are you sure the scent lingers?
Yes, it's gone. It's gone.
Okay. Well, could you answer a few additional questions? You did specify you were going to spread Tom's ashes upon.
I was tired. I didn't mean that.
But did you do it? Did Tom reanimate like the squirrel? And she clearly has the statement with her, and she's referencing.
Let's get an intellect test here as you're trying to like persuade her to talk. This is going to be difficulty 4.
Okay.
We'll say because you mentioned the squirrel reanimation, we can call that easing it down to a 3.
Okay. And you just want a straight intellect roll?
Yes, unless you have something else that would apply. You can spend points to try and lower it one more step if you'd like.
I think perception would apply. I have a better chance to notice what others miss in a physical environment when searching an area or listening.
This is more about
closely.
persuasion rather than
Got it.
perception.
Okay.
You're trying to get her to talk.
Yeah, I'll just do intellect.
All right.
13 beats a
13,
4.
that is a success. All right. You see her just kind of like, and she starts like wiping away tears. It's become a nightmare.
Tell us, perhaps we can assist.
And she kind of like opens the door, and just like her hand falls as the door swings open, and you see behind the house is a mess. It's very clear right away that it's a chaotic situation, and they are just exhausted. It's in disarray. There's this odd sour smell in the air, and you see that the dining room is behind, and you see that there are chairs that are literally knocked over and no one's picked them up. There are some red and green insects that are crawling and flying about the table. Behind them, you see sliding glass doors that lead out to the back deck, and they are just the glass doors are just covered in blankets, again, to block out any light. The only light that's coming in is from this doorway here. And as the door swings open, a little hornet buzzes past, and it doesn't try to attack you or anything, but it's just like freedom, like it's beelining out.
All right. Would you guys like to come out for a coffee, perhaps?
I can't leave.
Okay. And Frieda will turn and she'll look back out to the van at Lucian and Zander and Emily and and Emily and basically just like nod that she's gonna head inside. And she waves her phone, like she's got her phone, and she reaches into her pocket and she also pulls out her recording device. Or I presume she could have done this before she went out and we knocked on the door, and she has that active and recording.
Yeah, no worries there. The three of you outside, Zander, we'll say that you looked at the fence, but you can still see Emily and Lucien very clearly from the van. You probably can't see Naveen and Frieda. What are the three of you? How are you responding to this?
I think she says we have to go. Or should we check the back?
Yes.
Agreed.
Lucien will follow Zander to the backyard.
Emily will follow Lucien.
And Frieda and Naveed will go inside.
Frieda and Naveen, you go inside, and Zander, you were the first. So you find the gate and you open it up. You leave it open behind you so that Emily and Lucien can follow. And as you go back, that distant buzzing does get louder. There is a vibration in the air. You can almost feel it's not wind, but you can feel the buzzing throughout your body. As you turn this corner, you are confronted by this monstrosity of a hornet's nest. It is over 2 meters tall. It's grown and grown, much bigger than the statement ever said it would. It looks as if it's got like roots that are twined down and almost pushing it out of the ground. You can tell that they're paper, but even then they're like little stems that grow out of it. You see that those finger-sized holes that dot and crisscross it are all over this nest, but you can't even see the holes themselves because there are so many hornets that are crawling in and out and around. These hornets that are red and green, these jade and crimsons, and they are almost iridescent with how they shine. And you can't even believe they're hornets because there are so many legs on these, more legs than a hornet should have. It wouldn't be hard to believe that this would be a millipede with wings, except you see the hornet head and those mandibles and the wings on them. It's just completely unnatural. Give me an intellect difficulty 5 test here.
This is for me.
Yes, you are the first one to see this here.
Okay. Don't have anything except points in my pool to spend, I think.
Okay.
So I'll just spend 3 for 1.
3. And I believe you have an inability on this anyways, right?
Intellect defense. What does that mean?
This is an intellect defense roll right now.
I
So this
see.
means that you're spending 3 to cancel out your inability, which means that it's just a base 5.
Okay.
So you need a 15 or better.
Oh boy. I rolled a 5. That is not good.
Not good. So you're taking 2 stress here as you are confronted by this very unnatural monstrosity. Lucien and Emily, you are starting to follow behind, and you see Zander kind of like stopping his steps as he takes this in, and his mind struggles to process it. You can see the look of confusion on his face. And it immediately alerts you that there is something off.
Zander,
Don't come
what
closer.
is it?
Don't
Do
come
you
near.
see? What is it you see?
And I can't even like process what I'm seeing to explain.
And Lucien will step forward.
Give me the same intellect defense, rank 5 or difficulty 5.
Okay. Sure. I will. Okay. Can I spend to lower, to ease?
Yes, you can.
I have an edge in intellect. How does it affect spending?
So it would normally cost 3 to lower. Instead, you have an edge, which means that every intellect spend is reduced by 1, so it would cost you 2 instead.
Understood. I shall spend 2. Okay. 15 on
15,
the button.
So it was difficulty 4. 4 with your spend, so you do pass here, and you take this in. Insects are crawling across its surface. They're flying around it at all heights. They squeeze in and out of all of these holes, and the nest is almost vibrating with the actions of all these bugs. The droning buzz is loud enough that you would almost have to like shout to be heard by Zander at this point. Emily, there's something about the corner of this house that just kind of shields that noise a little bit. You hear the droning, but you've not been confronted by the entirety of it. Lucian, how do you react by this?
You will put a hand on Zander's shoulder, and he will pull him backward, and he will call over his own shoulder to Emily, and he will say, "The nest is still here. It has grown to something of enormity. It is hideous and beautiful. It is terrible."
I must look. And she'll scooch around Lucian.
Give me the intellect defense, rank 5, or difficulty 5. Keep saying
Okay, now I want to come back to something. So when I looked at the hornet earlier, you said that
you would get an ease trying to
by
identify
2
them. Yes.
later. So this wouldn't apply here because this is more of kind of the horror of the site.
Yeah, I think this wouldn't quite apply, but if you catch one of these hornets and try to figure it out, that's where it would.
Understood. Okay, so I also have an edge in intellect. I think that must be an occult thing. So I will spend 2.
Lowering it to difficulty 4, which means you need a 12 or better.
I rolled a 1. Lucian was right. I should not have looked.
GM intrusion. So first of all, you take 2 stress.
Okay.
I think the way this would best be described is that you, in your confusion, in your stress, with Lucian pulling you, you're kind of put off balance, and you step forward, and your foot gets trapped in like a gopher hole or something, and you fall forward, and you fall almost face first into what looks like it used to be roadkill of a dead raccoon. As it kind of like smears a little bit against you, and you push yourself back immediately, and you see that you kind of crunched some of these bugs that were swarming over it. You couldn't even tell what it was until your face hit it, and the hornets kind of flew up and scattered, and then you have this raccoon face looking back at you as you push yourself away. Why don't you go ahead and take an additional stress for that, putting you up to 3, which is your first level of stress. So until you get rid of stress, you will have a hindrance on all of your checks here.
And so Emily was just like, "No, I must see. And then she trips and stumbles and just kind of turns white a bit. She's done a lot of different things, and so like bugs themselves aren't necessarily the gross thing, but it's more the raccoon that it was like in her mouth kind of, and that is where she's just you just sort of see her just scooching backward sort of on the road or the sidewalk or kind of wherever we are, just like lines back past Lucian and Zander, just sort of like, no. Oh, and she's just, kind of doing the thing where you think you got something awful in your mouth and you're just like rubbing at your face frantically, trying to get all of it off.
Trying not to panic, you push your way back into the front garden. We'll cut from there back to Frieda and Naveen. As you follow Karen into this house, into the living room, it's in shambles. There are no blankets or cushions because they're all covering these windows here. You see that the couch itself is just down. It's like a pull-away bed, but the cushions have been taken to like the covers have been stripped off to use to cover windows. So she offers like feebly like to sit on the couch, but then she just looks at it and knows how ridiculous the offer is. And she goes to the dining room and she grabs one of these chairs that is knocked over, and she just sits down and kind of collapses into it. I don't know how. And then from behind, down the hallway where like you would expect the bedrooms are, you see Nicholas and Karen in front of you towards the chair. Nicholas goes to his mom and just kind of like holds her arm. But from behind in that hallway, you hear rustling, a movement, a bit of a thump, like a slam of weight against one of these doors. And you hear a doorknob starting to turn, like jiggling, but like someone's struggling with it. They're fighting it. And she looks up. Karen has just a look of fear. No, Tom, don't come out. And that's where we're going to end for the night. All right. That is session 1 of Magnus Archives.
Oh, shit.
Hey.
A lot of fun.
I'm stressed. I'm level 3 stressed. Yay.
I've had a lot of fun playing with you all. I'm very excited to see where these characters go. This has been a lot of fun.
So great.
Thank you for trusting me with the Friday night game. It feels good to be here. I'm happy to be here, and we'll see how long this goes. We are getting stressed out. Let's do some shout outs. Jeff, why don't you continue not talking as we cut to my tray? What do you got going on?
We're doing it. Okay. Okay. I like it. I am my Space Games on YouTube, where I make system agnostic or multi-system tabletop content that centers the GM and player experience that you should check out if you feel like checking that kind of thing out.
Fantastic. As for myself, I have a game that came out, a tabletop RPG called Huckleberry. It's a Weird West game, horror western. If you like gross bugs and things like that, you'll like Huckleberry. It's on Drive-Thru RPG. You can get all the links at huckleberryrpg.com. We have a couple scenarios that are out already. One by Heart of Arcana, who's in chat. Thanks for showing up. One by our mute on the channel here, Jeff. So lots of fun stuff. Check it out. It's worth your time. Jeff, what do we got going on with the Lollygaggers?
We have several additional streams that we will be hosting over the next week. Tomorrow, we will be playing Han Cluster. It is a Savage Worlds game by a friend of ours named Tracy Sizemore. On Monday, we will be playing Otherscape, a Mythos cyberpunk game from Sons of Oak Studio. On Tuesday, we will be playing Barrels and Princesses, where our friend Kipsa is leading us into the land of the Pixies. And on Thursday, we'll be playing Swords of the Serpentine, which is a swords and sorcery game from Pelgrane Press. Next Friday, we will be playing Dragonbane by Frieda Publishing, GM'd by our dear friend Ellen. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with more Magnus Archives.
Fantastic.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, I'm good.
Steven.
You go ahead. Keep talking.
We are going to rate someone now. I very quickly looked, but it is quite difficult to see that side of my screen without moving my neck. I think it is 20
Well, the head
sides
moves,
to every
and then the body
story,
follows.
but it is possible I pick something else. So apologies if it is something different.
It is 20 sides to every story.
Thank you.
It
You're
is.
good.
Thank you, everyone, for
Watching.
joining us. It's been a blast.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Juice.
Peace.